How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 47. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to another episode. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the newest animated film that just released, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. We've already had a spectacular animated movie that came out this year in Across the Spider-Verse. So now we have another one that has now, again, using that same type of a style. I don't know if they're not obviously trying to copy Across the Spider-Verse, but Mutant Mayhem was really, got a lot of inspiration from using this kind of comic book art style. And you could see that in the trailers of this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. So I was super excited to see how it would all play out, how it would be different from Across the Spider-Verse and other animated films that we've also seen this year, like in Elemental. But let's go ahead and dive in to some of my initial questions and thoughts before we actually went to go watch the movie. Okay, some of my initial questions that I had was, how would this Ninja Turtles film compare to previous iterations that have appeared on screen? I became a really big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the live action movies that came out in the 1990s. I thought they were so wacky, so goofy, but so relatable because you always, as a kid, the biggest thing that's in your mind, at least for me as a kid, was, doing different types of fight sequences and choreography, using weapons like swords or katanas or sticks or nunchucks in this case, and just eating delicious food like pizza. And so as a kid, it just relates to you so much because it's like, hey, I would want to do those kind of things, or that looks really cool. And it definitely shaped how I am, especially the big kid that I am right now. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies from the live action were so cool. Again, to me, obviously looking back at them, they were very cheesy. A lot of the jokes, again, may not be as funny as they are now. But those films, again, in their times, were a big hit, at least for me. And they made a lot of fans worldwide. And so they've made a lot of different iterations. They try to modernize the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, try to have CGI with them. It didn't go over so well. But now they've actually found a specific spot where I think they could hopefully find success, and that's in the animated world. Again, I mentioned it a little bit before in the previous little couple minutes that I've been talking in the intro. But knowing that the animated films are finding success again, now that we have this style of, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, making it like a comic book type of an art where, again, everything just looks very stylized. You can use different types of colors. You're not forced to, be limited by the live action piece of it. Rather, now you can really draw and animate anything you would want for this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle world. And so I was super excited to see, okay, how could they play off of this? How could they make this animation look, just as cool as Across the Spider-Verse, or maybe even cooler? And really, this, I think, also gives the opportunity of how can we tell the story of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a different way that we haven't seen from the previous movies. Now we can have a kind of like a true origin story, or we can talk a little bit more about Master Splinter and how he ended up kind of creating that fatherly relationship with the Turtles. Anything of this kind of nature, again, I feel like now with, again, showing the success of Across the Spider-Verse, these animated movies are now starting to become very prominent, big blockbuster movies, because now hey, this isn't just for kids anymore. We can tell real, gritty or grounded stories. Just look at, again, Spider-Verse films. You can see a lot of Pixar movies have had a lot of great success as well. So it's just a great path that I'm hoping that finds success with this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. And again, I think animated is starting to have this great leap where now you don't have to follow the same type of approach that Pixar does. You can do comic book style. You can do these different types of animations that, again, are just very different and wonky and not commonly used. But again, some of these might be really big hits. Some of them, again, might flop. But again, I'm just liking that animation is getting a little bit more, to venture into, and just showing off that these artists have really cool styles that they can create as well. All right, now jumping into my second question is, would the Shredder appear in some form in this movie? If you've watched the trailers, you notice that he does not appear at all, which I actually loved. I was talking to my brother about this. We actually really enjoyed that Shredder was not mentioned at all. No name drop, no nothing of that kind of imagery that you would see of Shredder. And I really appreciated that because, again, this should really just be an origin story of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This should just show how they have come up to be the heroes that New York City needs. And so we don't really need anything in regards to Shredder because he should be the big bad, the real true villain that is their nemesis going forward if there are other movies. Again, if this is successful. But I still feel like there's probably going to be an after credit scene that shows Shredder in some way. There's got to be some mention of him. Something's got to give. Because again, if this film is successful and they end up making multiple different types of sequels for it, Shredder's got to come out and appear to eventually challenge the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So again, I love that they haven't included him in any of the marketing, but I do feel like he's going to appear in some part of the film, at least as an after credit scene, or they might name drop him as well. But again, that's just a theory on my side and something that I'm kind of considering before watching Mutant Mayhem. All right, well, those are some of my thoughts. Again, trying to get a feel for if Shredder was going to come out, or how would they kind of show the differences between these Ninja Turtles in an animated space rather than a live action space as well. Let's go ahead and dive into my overall thoughts about the movie now that I've gotten a chance to see Mutant Mayhem. And I gotta say, I had a lot of fun with it, guys. I ended up seeing it on a Monday during an early fan screening, and I try not to get too excited before a movie. I just try to kind of limit my expectations and just try to come in just hoping the movie's going to be good. And to me, I thought it was an awesome entry into this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe. But it delivered, man. It to me it had a lot of great jokes. The voice acting was on point. There was just a lot of good things about it. Let's just go ahead and jump into some of the pros that I had about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Number one, for me, the thing that stuck out the most that I really loved was the soundtrack and the score. It was just on point for this movie. There was different songs ranging from Bruno Mars to Blackstreet to A Tribe Called Quest. All the sounds were just really good, and they had really good energy, which kind of fit the feeling of New York City, as well as the feeling of the Ninja Turtles themselves. It just, again, everything was just on point. Whether, again, it was Bruno Mars singing a specific type of a song for the villain of the movie. In this case, it was Superfly, played by Ice Cube. Or you had different types of songs, again, playing while the Ninja Turtles were either kind of going through and beating up these specific thugs. Everything from the score, again, just really good moments that were played out. And I thought, again, that just added to making this movie a much more enjoyable experience. When you have these songs that, again, are either well-known or maybe not as well-known, but they kind of fit the theme of what you're trying to portray in the story, it just adds to that experience in the theater. So really loved the soundtrack and the score. Thought it made my experience of watching the Ninja Turtles even much more than I already was excited for it. Second pro that I had was the characters themselves. They were very interesting. Again, not only does the story focus around the four main Ninja Turtles and what they have to really face in regards to the real world, they immediately kind of give you that perspective early on in the film, which is, you guys are freaks. You're mutants. You're not accepted by the world. You're rejected. And you just see these four Ninja Turtles that are in their teenage years trying to kind of figure out, like, well, why does the world hate us? We didn't do anything to the world. We just look different. We just kind of, again, we just want to be a part of your world. We want to be accepted. And so it immediately kind of grounds the story and makes you kind of feel like, damn, it sucks that they have to go through that kind of a feeling, right? Where nobody kind of accepts you. But not only is it just the Ninja Turtles that go through that, it's even the villain Superfly, again, played by Ice Cube. He gives a great story and a great explanation as to why he's trying to destroy a lot of things in New York. Why is he trying to do all these things? And it's not because, again, hey, I'm the bad guy, I have to do this. No, instead it's because my creator was taken away. He was jailed because of the creations he was making. And I lost my father in this kind of a sense. I lost everything that I had. And so, you know what? To take revenge, I'm just going to take everything away from humans. And so, again, it just kind of gives you that perspective that the villain is not just some guy that has an evil plan. Granted, Superfly in this film did have an actual plan, and he explained it to the Ninja Turtles. But it was never to the point of like, well, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is he doing that? No, it makes clear sense. He got his creator or his father taken away. And so now what he's going to do, now that he's had a chance to grow up, to be able to kind of develop these different types of weapons, well, he's going to get revenge and kind of create an entire mutant world of Earth and basically get rid of humans. So, again, just making those stories very relatable. And then you also have Master Splinter, who then plays the overprotective parent. He's basically, he got shunned. He was called a freak, and he had a terrible first experience of just trying to be a part of the real world. And so he does not want his sons, in this case the Mutant Ninja Turtles, to go through that same kind of embarrassment. And so he's basically trying to protect them. He's telling them, do not go to the real world. Do not go up into the streets for long periods of time, because again, they are going to reject you. They are going to tell you that you do not belong here. And so again, you have these different types of perspectives that again are very relatable, either from a parent perspective or from the teenager perspective, or even just again, from a real type of perspective of just being hated in some type of way. So really love that. Again, coming from an animated film, they nailed it on that aspect of it. I also feel, as my third pro, that the story overall was pretty engaging, and they nailed that as well. Most of the time, maybe people get tired of origin stories, especially from a superhero perspective. But I was really hoping that they would explain a little bit more about the origin, how they, how they trained, why they went through what they went through. Did they attempt to try to go to the real world? And they explained all of that. They kind of show the entire kind of story about, very quickly and efficiently how the Ninja Turtles basically came to be. Again, ooze being dropped on them. But then they also show hey, I tried to take you to the real world. You were all hated. And now I have to protect you. What's the best way to protect ourselves? Well, let's learn some self-defense using kung fu, using karate, using all these different stuffs. And so again, they just go through that whole kind of a montage. And I loved it. I really appreciated that. And even this film is still, even though they show that little montage of them kind of growing up, I love that they kind of kept the Ninja Turtles as actual teenagers. In the live action ones in the 90s, they were supposed to be teenagers, but they looked very old. So it didn't really kind of correlate. In this film, they actually looked and act as teenagers. And so it just makes you kind of connect with them a little bit more that, hey, they're going to make dumb decisions. Their decisions in the story are basically, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get accepted by the world. And that's, again, the entire narrative of this film is really revolving around acceptance. How do I make these ridiculous or radical decisions just to get the approval of other people? When in reality, the Ninja Turtles really just have to make the decisions. What can they do and decide to just make sure that they're accepted for themselves, right? Not having to worry about the acceptance of other people. It should really just focus on being yourself and just accepting that, hey, I am who I am, and whether you love me or hate me, I'm just going to do it. There's various decisions that they make that are ridiculous, that end up backfiring for them, where the public ends up hating him, but it all ends up turning around at the end of the film as well. But again, just really love that the story, again, explains everything, and it kind of just sets you in the right kind of perspective of these guys are still teenagers. They have really envied the real world. They want to be a part of it, and that's really their only goal. Their goal isn't to just become superheroes or to save the day. They just want to be a part of the real world, and so really love that message overall. Last but not least, I gotta say that the final pro is the animation style. It was very cool and unique. Again, just comparing it to different Pixar films or even comparing it to Across the Spider-Verse, they actually animated the characters in a way that were almost like in imperfect ways. That's a good way to describe it. They have human characters, but none of these human characters actually look perfect. Like in other films, like in Elemental or in Across the Spider-Verse, or any other Pixar and animated film, characters are pretty much drawn to be perfect, right? Like they have these characteristics that are, their faces are kind of perfect, their hair is perfect. In this film, though, I really like that some humans kind of look off, like some eyes are bigger than others, some people's heads are bigger. It just, the animation style is very different, and I'm really glad that they went this way. That way, it's not like an art style or animation that's very similar to something that we've seen. Still looks like that comic book feel, but I really enjoyed, again, that things were just in it almost like imperfect in a way, and I really love that. Again, just something different and unique that they can hopefully build upon if there are any sequels. All right, now that I've kind of gone through some of my pros, just only con that I really have is some of the jokes just didn't land for me. It was still a funny movie. I still laughed most of the time that I was watching it. But again, it's very subjective. There's definitely some people that will laugh at jokes, some people that won't. But there were some jokes, again, that may have gone just over my head that I just didn't really laugh at or just didn't find funny. Other than that, I didn't really find much else of a con for this film. It was a really great time. Some jokes may not have hit for me, but they hit for other people. I still was laughing the entire time with some of the jokes that they were making. It was a very modern type of a film too, and by that sense, I mean, they said a lot of things that were very much in the current pop culture reference, name calling Beyonce, name calling Drake, saying a lot of different types of jokes that current slang terms that current kids might use as well. They name drop Batman, all this different stuff. And so again, it was very much a type of a modern film of this time, but I really appreciated that. It never took away from the story, which was really the most important part, and I think they landed it. I also love that the Ninja Turtles were actually, again, teenagers rather than just some adult turtles pretending to be kids. Again, it just makes their characters that much more interesting, so I really appreciated that. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun. The voice acting, again, I gotta say it, was pretty spot on. Whether it was the young kids playing the Ninja Turtles or if it was Ice Cube playing Superfly, everyone just kind of knocked it out of the park. Jackie Chan as Master Splinter, a lot of good stuff. Highly recommend if you have a chance to go watch it in theaters. Just especially if you're a big fan of the Ninja Turtles, I think you'd be very impressed by this film as well. All right, everybody, now that we've kind of gone through our overall thoughts and pros and cons, now I want to dive into my favorite performance that I liked in the film. I always like to kind of preface this that it's very hard for me sometimes to choose when it becomes an animated film, just because of the fact that animated compared to live action, the facial expressions and the way that the characters will kind of be portrayed is very unique and different. But I gotta say that in this film, from the Mutant Mayhem, I gotta choose my favorite character being Mondo Gecko, which is actually played by Paul Rudd. Mondo Gecko ends up being at the first, a villain. He ends up being a part of the Superfly crew, and he's basically trying to assist Superfly in order to really destroy the human race and create mutants. But his character is just so wacky and hilarious. He rides a skateboard. He the way Paul Rudd, changed his voice and he altered it in a way to make it goofy. Almost made him sound like he was like a surfer or skateboarder in some type of way. And it was just so freaking funny. I'm not going to try to mimic it because I know I'm not going to do it justice. But his character, every time he was on screen, just made me laugh. It was hilarious. And it just stood out for me. I did love all the other voice actors that played the Turtles. I love Jackie Chan and Ice Cube. But I just felt like Paul Rudd was just a good surprise that it just caught me completely off guard that his character just became the thing that was most interesting. And I just love that he ended up actually, spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't seen the movie, but he actually ended up helping out the Turtles at the end. And so it was really good stuff. Mondo Gecko was actually my favorite performance. Just again, the way that he was just so goofy and wacky and the things that he would say was just hilarious to me. And I just always remember those little details of the film every time he was appearing on screen. But yeah, Paul Rudd playing Mondo Gecko was my favorite performance of the movie. All right, everybody, now that we've kind of gone through that, I want to jump into my favorite scene or moment of the movie. So spoiler warning, again, for anybody that has not seen the movie, definitely go ahead and like this video, come back, watch TMNT, Mutant Mayhem, and then feel free to join us back in here to see if you agree with my favorite moment or if you consider this movie timeless as well. Okay, hopefully that's enough time, but my favorite scene of the movie was actually Master Splinter coming in to save the Ninja Turtles. There's a specific point at the beginning of the third act where, the Ninja Turtles end up caught and they are getting their blood sucked out of them. The reason for that is because the scientists want this blood to be able to create other mutants and an army of mutants, really. And so Master Splinter has no choice but to come to the real world, climb out of the sewers and save his sons. And he does that in spectacular fashion because there's a sick action sequence where he basically knocks out 10 or 15 guys. And again, it just shows and highlights that Master Splinter is the true teacher of these Ninja Turtles. And he gets a chance to basically show off his skills. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen the 90s Ninja Turtles movies. I can't remember if Master Splinter ever gets any good action sequences. But I love that they gave him justice in this film, and they just showed off that, hey, the Ninja Turtles, they're awesome. They're still kind of in the come up of their actual skills and being in their prime. But Master Splinter, again, still has that skill and ability when needed. And again, when push comes to shove, he ends up coming in to save the day for his sons as well. So really love that. Really love that they shined the spotlight on Master Splinter. And I thought it was a really cool action sequence and how they animated it overall. All right, everybody, now that we've kind of gone through my favorite performance, my overall thoughts, now it's time to answer the important question, which is Mutant Mayhem timeless? At the moment, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem has the potential to be a timeless movie. I wouldn't consider it like immediately like, yes, this is a timeless movie for me. I'm going to keep watching it over and over again. Not yet for me. So I'll say a quick, just little no at the moment, but it has potential. It's a very fun and entertaining movie with a lot of cool fight sequences and, again, an awesome soundtrack and a score. It just elevates it and makes it feel like just a fun, cool party, right? That you're kind of living through with the Ninja Turtles. I don't think there was anything that really stood out though that made me want to like immediately as soon as I came out of the theater, there was something that made me go, oh man, I can't wait to rewatch this, or I can't wait to rewatch or feel this scene or hear this song. Now again, that's just my opinion. I just didn't get that feeling as soon as I came out of the theater. But I can definitely feel myself rewatching, wanting to rewatch this movie just to kind of capture little things that I may have missed about the animation. And that could totally change my perspective and be like, you know what? Maybe I enjoyed it more the second time. That's just a feeling that I get after I came out of watching this movie. Another thing that I kind of think of is and I know that's not a fair comparison, but we have had a lot of great animated films come out over the recent years. Just this year, we had Across the Spider-Verse, which is in my top movies of this year in 2023. And again, not trying to make the comparison, but when you have these animated films with such similar art styles, you kind of tend to kind of compare and see like, okay, well, which one did you like more? Where did the story hit a little bit better? And again, to me, if I were to choose between these two, Across the Spider-Verse still is a little bit higher for me than this one. The way that the art style in Across the Spider-Verse just kind of blew me away. In Mutant Mayhem, they still used a lot of cool styles. Again, those imperfect ways that they drew the characters from the humans or New York City. But again, it was still a very fun film, But again, that's one of the reasons why it's very hard for me to kind of call it timeless when I've already seen some other film this year, an animated version of it. And to me, I enjoyed it much more than this one. That's just me at this moment. That does not mean that if I didn't, if I watch it again, that I won't change my mind. I still think that this film is awesome and a fun watch, and you just immediately get hooked to the story and the characters. And I think when a movie can do that very seamlessly and easily, then that just shows you that it's a great film to watch. Again, you get invested in the Ninja Turtle story, you get invested in Master Splinter, you sometimes even get invested in the Superfly, the villain. And so there's a lot of things to enjoy about this movie. The music, the jokes that go through, it'll make you laugh. It's a fun time to watch it in the theaters. So again, I can't wait to hopefully watch it again before it goes out of the theaters. And I'm also curious as to if there's going to be a sequel. I hope that this finds success because I'm super excited to watch the second one. Because of the fact that, like I predicted, I told you guys at the beginning, one of my questions was, were they going to mention Shredder? And Shredder did not come out at all in the film until a little after credit scene. They actually show an image of the Shredder, just the back of him. And so I'm really, really excited now. And I'm hoping that, again, if this finds success and hopefully people end up going to watch this movie, I'm hoping that they make a sequel. That way we can see Shredder face off against the Ninja Turtles. Guys, those were my thoughts and opinions on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. What do you think about this movie? Have you had a chance to see it? And if you have, let me know down below in the comments. Do you think this is a timeless movie? Is this your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie of all time? And what was your favorite moment and what was your favorite character in this film? Definitely want to interact with you guys down below in the comments. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening all the way through. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 47 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Appreciate all of you guys listening, and make sure to check out next week's episode as we will cover a new movie that comes out in theaters and decide if it is timeless. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you later.